Hi, Alec.
Hey.
Welcome to On the Millennial Mind. Last week, we were talking about how to use gaming, how you can know yourself through gaming, right?
Right.
And you were going to say something about off, and then we went off.
Yeah, we went off track when I mentioned off.
Yeah.
So we're going to backtrack a bit and go back to off.
Off.
So how do you react when you learn that you were actually in the wrong?
Can you be more specific?
Like, if you're the bad guy in the situation, or something that you thought you were doing right is actually doing a whole lot of harm.
Yeah. That's enough. You think that you're saving the world, you're saving this baby too, right? I mean, you think that at some point.
At some point.
Yeah, like there's all these evil things, factories, and it's very grim and dark.
Mm-hmm.
That game.
Yeah.
And still, it feels like you're playing for a little boy, or you are like a little boy, but it's like super dark, and you're saving things, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then what happens?
Well, at some point you realize, wait a minute, something's not right here.
Yeah.
And for me, that clicked in super early.
Something's off.
But for a lot of people, it can click in at any time of the game.
Yeah.
For me, it clicked in early because I can tell the difference of the mindset between a hero, a villain, and neither.
Right. So what happened to you?
Well,
when you realize you were off.
Right. Well, I still wanted to play the game. So I still pressed on and I still went to see it to the bitter end, right? But throughout the entire thing, there was this immense sense of guilt, right? And because I knew that it was a game and that there's no like real world consequences,
Mm-hmm.
I was able to still keep going on to see the narrative to the end.
Mm-hmm.
But if it was real life, or if there were actual real life consequences, that guilt would have consumed me to the point where I stopped. And never saw anything to completion.
But and this is different than the game. What is the name of the game where you steal cars? Grand Theft Auto.
Right.
Okay, where you start as a bad guy.
Right.
You know that that's what you're going to be doing.
Right.
Or any game like that where you play a villain from the beginning. This one felt different to me.
Right.
Because
why do you think that is?
Well, in the first place, it's because in the narrative of this game of Off is not one where they tell you, okay, so you're going to be a mass murderer, or you're going to be stealing cars and beating up people and all of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
You start off with you start off without being told about the morality of the situation. So you assume you're going to be, like in most other games, the hero, the savior, the whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You assume that you're the good guy. And it's in the middle of it that you are confronted with the reality of what's happening in the world, what's happening to you.
Right.
And it's with the other games, because it's already introduced as, okay, so it's okay, this is what the game is, it's fun, you win the game by taking over a mafia, you win the game by killing these people, all of that.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, you don't know really who you are. You discover it as you go.
Right.
Even towards the end, it's not very clear who you are, what you are. Even with these spoilers we're giving, you're not really going to know, because it's not a conceptual thing. It's a feeling. It's in the music, in the movements. It's in seeing the development of everything as it plays. And it occurred to me as you're talking about this that must be how it is for most of our real life villains.
Right, because you start off thinking that you're doing good. You're doing the good thing. We don't want to believe that we're the bad guy.
No.
We always want to be the hero.
Yeah.
Or at least a helper. But at some point...
Or at least neutral.
Yeah, at least neutral. But at some point, if you ever discover that you're the bad guy, what happens then?
What I have seen people do is cover up the facts so that they themselves don't see what they've done wrong. I was reading a post, a few posts a few days ago about the greatest generation, as they call it, the World War II generation. And that's the generation where we always see the soldiers as doing something good and heroic. Mm-hmm. We question that in Vietnam, and I don't think a lot of people really believe it nowadays, because we have seen the horrors. Still, most people, call any soldier a hero just because they were soldiers. Any cop a hero just because they were blue. And they want to cover up any indication that there is abuse of authority, that there is killing, raping, extortions, illegal use of force, and all those things, right? Mm-hmm. And they, of course, it's like in every aspect of life, it's not correct to say they are all like that. But people very easily want to believe that they are all good, that they're all heroic.
Right.
And they don't want to see any evidence, any video, any finding to the contrary.
And that happens in the game too, doesn't it?
Yeah. Where does it happen?
Well, the character that you puppet. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Straight up until the end, he's still believing that he is the hero and refusing any evidence to the contrary.
Right.
And even
if you already found out.
Right.
The character doesn't know.
Or the character refuses
to believe, yeah.
The character straight up tells you. Because he refers to you separate as him.
Yeah. And so in this great generation of World War II soldiers, there is evidence now. Narratives keep coming up of rapings of women in Europe by Allied forces. Mm-hmm. And I see people want to say, well, no, those were not the Allies, those were the Russians. Well, Russians were Allies. And then they say, no, they were also Americans and British, and no, people just don't want to see it.
Right.
Or they say things like, my grandfather was a veteran, and he wouldn't do that. And maybe it's true. Maybe your grandfather wouldn't do that. Maybe your grandfather didn't do that. But that force that we sent did that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, but they saved the world. Be grateful for that. They saved the world from Hitler. Yes.
But they also
that doesn't negate the
right.
other thing. And that, as a dark counterpart, reminds me of the, what they used to say about Hitler. At least he's good for. He fixed the economy. At least he kept the trains running on time. Mm-hmm. No, it's not an excuse. It's not. We want to hide the things that we have done in humanity, mm-hmm. and this game shows that in a visceral way.
It even makes you do that too, mm-hmm. as the player, as the human. Yeah. Not just the character in the game too. Mm-hmm. There is a point where you want to deny everything too.
Just like we want to deny the
Didn't
Holocaust.
That happen to you when you were playing?
Yeah.
There was a point where you started to suspect.
Yeah, I remember.
But then you wanted to deny that.
Well, I kept telling you, hey, I think we're evil. I think we're evil.
Yeah, but there's that word, I think.
Yeah.
You're not sure and you want to be proven wrong.
And then when you see it, you want to say, well, maybe this is like towards a greater good.
Right.
Or
like it's a necessary evil,
like
just
it's,
like
if it's a necessary, like war. Mm-hmm. If it's a necessary evil, like war or vaccines.
Vaccines.
But then there is also
that poor dead bacteria.
Yeah.
And viruses. The poor dead viruses.
But there is also the feeling that if you stop, nothing really changes. That things they're already evil. They're already bad.
Right. There's a sense of hopelessness there.
Yeah, there is no way out. You cannot switch sides. You can't fix it. The only
even
fix
if you
is
do
to keep
switch
going.
sides, mm-hmm. even if you do switch sides or do stop, it still happens anyway.
It still happens.
The character is going to do it with your help or without.
Right. And so do we go then to the well, it's going to happen anyway, so at least I can be better for them. At least I can help something. And how much is really that, and how much is really a hunger for experience, to see where it all goes.
Right.
And so in this life,
exactly.
how much are we doing because of this hunger for experience, or this habit of thought to just keep going?
Mm-hmm. And that's something that is really hard to come to terms with yourself. Mm-hmm. But this game almost forces you to at least experience this kind of turmoil yourself.
To confront a clear moral dilemma, you really have to examine yourself.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. The other games where you play a villain, you don't have to examine yourself.
Right. Grand Theft Auto, it rewards you for it.
It rewards you. It gives you. It's funny. It gives you a thrill. It. Yeah.
No money, no funny bunny, honey.
Yeah.
Like it glorifies it.
Well, there is a point of I must admit in Grand Theft Auto where I after I had been playing for many hours, I got into my car and suddenly I realized that when we normally drive, there are these mental walls that we have, mm-hmm. that tells me the car doesn't go that way, the car doesn't do those things, right?
But
you
physically,
keep it on that side
you
of the
can.
road. But physically, there's nothing to stop you
Right.
from doing that. And then there is the moral walls,
Mm-hmm.
the moral concerns, and the consequences, right?
Yeah, there's only moral and safety barriers,
but
physically.
But they are in the mind, they're not physical.
Right.
And so I got into my car, and because I had been playing for hours, for days actually, days and many hours that day.
I remember when you were like really hooked on Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah. And all of a sudden there were no walls, right?
Uh-huh.
And that's scary because I have this car and something had been taken off, and I had to put them on willingly to maintain this human form and that human practice.
Now, there's a lot of debate, like, not very long ago, and it probably could still be happening right now. I'm not too sure, but if it is, it's not as strong or visceral as it was before. But there was, like, a lot of debate on if Grand Theft Auto made real life violence and crime go up. Because people were doing these things in the games, and so they want to do it in real life, and then they do it.
They always have this debate with games.
Right.
Before Grand Theft Auto, in
Right.
the early 80s, we had Dungeons and Dragons. And we were one of the very few people playing it in El Salvador, right? Mm-hmm. We were the only crew I knew that was playing that. And everybody my age or older, they thought that it was silly that I would be playing that because it was a kid's game. We were into it. We would play for days at a time. And at some point, we started hearing the evangelists saying that this is a game of the devil, right?
Witchcraft and
there is
and magic and stuff like that.
And there are other gods.
They say that for Harry Potter and for Pokemon too.
And for Pokemon, the granddaddy is Dungeons and Dragons of that scare, right? Mm-hmm. And in this game, you're doing invocations. You're talking to other gods. There's no mention of Jesus Christ, and so many things like that. And but then there is this critique that came out that said kids are getting into this fantasy world, right? Mm-hmm. And it is actually changing the way they see the world, and then they begin to see themselves as their characters. And I mean, look at me. I do that. With it. I use the game in that exact fashion. Yeah.
But what they meant by that is not using the game as an evolution as you do.
No, they mean that
they mean
you get possessed by other spirits.
Delusion.
You get into a schizophrenia. Uh-huh. Your reality split and you begin to live in two worlds. Right. Which is true. And I remember my friend Ronnie started getting worried because he said this game is like taking over. It's in
too real.
It's too real. It's I'm always thinking about it. I'm really really worried about what's gonna happen in the game. Not as I worry about what's gonna happen to the hero in a movie. It had gone a step beyond. In reality,
a step too far,
so that it did seem like a real reality, mm-hmm. And there was no suspension of disbelief necessary. It had grabbed us, right?
Right.
We were dreaming it, breathing it, and we were taking breaks into this ordinary reality to eat, to to sleep. But then we were back into the real world of D&D. And so he got worried and he started reading that, you can become possessed. So he said, I'm not going to play anymore.
And then what happened?
Oh, he played the next day.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, the reason why I bring this up, Not just because we were talking about Grand Theft Auto and stuff, but because you specifically mentioned that after playing that game for a while, you lost the moral boundaries for a moment. You can see that they don't exist in reality. And you had to manually put that up because you still had your morals in check.
Yeah.
So,
well, but
what would you think? What do you think about that argument, though?
I think it's very true. But this is the thing. Morality, and I'm a philosopher,
right?
So I am familiar with Nietzsche and Heidegger, and I know enough to understand that all morality is artificial, is the product of a culture of learned behavior and all of that.
Right.
It's internalized, but it's also changing.
Mm-hmm.
And in the world of nature, there is no such thing as evil and good. The lion is not evil when he hunts.
Right.
Right? And the hummingbird is not good when it suckles from the flower. Each one is following the natural impulses to survive, to understand the environment, to act accordingly.
Right.
Right. It is in the human world that we think in those terms. So there is an argument in my mind for seeing those moral barriers, how they were placed, and consciously arranging them. But most people are really frightened of this.
Exactly.
They need a God to tell them how to behave.
Or the law.
Or the law, both.
Or the common consensus.
Yes, and I have heard this argument since I was a little boy of religious people telling me, but if we don't believe in God, if I don't believe in God, then what's to stop me from murdering people, stealing, raping? And I say, well,
myself.
Yeah, myself. I think that's wrong, and so I won't. But there is there's no objective rule. Well, it is.
That's scary.
It on yourself. To me, that's more scary. To them, our point of view is scary.
The fact that they have to rely on a belief of God to stop themselves from doing that is frightening, because
that is what's frightening to me. Because when the chaos hits, they go wild. That's the mob.
Yeah.
But if you can place them yourself, it's a different game. So at that moment, I saw that I had become accustomed to seeing the road as the road, and what the vehicle could do, but really the barrier is not in the vehicle, it's not on the road, it's in my own training from what I'm driving, right?
Right.
So I like to see that it was gone, but it's frightening for a moment to find yourself in the middle of nowhere with unlimited directions to go.
So you're saying that games that put you in the villain's spot and rewards you for it don't necessarily cause you to be more violent, like media tends to try to say, but it does cause you to step outside of the
fixed
human
morality,
moral box,
the fixed moral box that you have been running, the programming, right? That you've been running from running off.
Now that doesn't happen in off, does it?
No, that doesn't happen. No, but one step behind here. Let me step back, and I don't think that it's being in the shoes of the villain that removes that. In Grand Theft Auto is the interface with that world where you can do anything. You're not prompted to do anything.
They don't tell you save the princess.
It doesn't tell you save the princess. It doesn't tell you now you have to walk down this corridor. It doesn't tell you you have to stay. You can't go into the park with your car, right? It doesn't say any of that. So you just do anything. That is what removes the blocks, I think.
So that is why in Zelda you hit the chickens, because you can.
Yeah, well, they're immortal too.
Yeah, the cuckoos are immortal, and they will kill you for it. There are consequences, but because you can do it,
I actually hit the chickens.
We end up doing it.
I actually hit the chickens to get killed.
Yeah, I do that sometimes too.
Because hitting a chicken, it's not that much fun.
But being killed by chickens.
But when you hit them enough and they gang up on you, you see Link running for life. And that is
hilarious.
Those are like the fates just running at you, and there's nothing you can do. That's worse than
it's
any
karma
boss.
at its best.
Yeah. And it's fun to see that.
It is.
That's why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the fact that you can do that allows you to do that.
Yeah. Exactly. And then you reset the game and you keep going. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you do it again.
But in off, this barrier is removed, I think, at a deeper level.
Right.
It questions what you are, who you are. Not who you are in the game. It questions that same consciousness that beyond good and evil, as Nietzsche would say, you find yourself in this place where normally you think a game will take you to pick a side, right?
Right.
But it keeps you there. You're holding off before creation, before birth, and you find that you're doing things from a place that it's neither good nor evil. It's beyond that.
Absolutely.
And that helps you remove those barriers.
Right. Now, off doesn't really reward you for being quote unquote the bad guy. It does like give you items and experience and stronger gear and things like that, which are the typical rewards in a video game.
Right.
But in this game, it doesn't give you the sense of euphoria and I did it.
Of accomplishment.
It doesn't give you accomplishment beyond the material.
It's just the experience itself, the knowing how the story unfolds.
It's gaining all the items in the game and things like that. It's not an accomplishment that you feel. It's just a tool that you need to continue and nothing more.
Right.
Games, they can make items feel like accomplishments. This game actively doesn't.
Right.
To the contrary of everything else. And actually it makes you feel pretty shitty sometimes.
Yeah. And so I wonder if the game just brings you face to face with the raw habit of experience.
Yeah.
Like there is nothing else.
In fact, there was a time where I got an item and I felt so shitty about it. Mm-hmm. Which is the exact opposite reaction that you usually get to getting an item in a game. There was a character, and he was in his bunk bed, and he was taking the bottom bunk, right? And he was facing his bed, and when you talk to him, he says, "Oh no, I'm not doing anything. Don't look under my bed." I swear I don't have anything. Don't look under my bed. I'm okay, right? And then you visit the place later, and there's no one there, right? And then you look under the bed, and you find an item that gives you an extra life. That guy knew that he was going to die. Mm-hmm. And he was stashing something away so that he could revive himself later, and whatever happened, it didn't work.
Right. Right. I wonder if this game allows you to see that moment before good and evil are formed in you, or rather, if it takes you off a certain moral compass and lets you feel in your flesh the futility of life and experience when you are off.
Right, because there is an immense sense of futility there.
Like something
there's
went
nothing
wrong.
you can do.
Yeah, something went wrong, and there is nothing you can do to right it, to get back on it.
Right.
You can't even stop playing the game to right it.
Right. Because if you stop playing the game, it straight up tells you, like the character, I'm gonna do it anyway, with or without your help.
So remember,
even if you stop playing the game, there is no sense of, at least that world is paused forever and the bad can't continue, because it lets you know, hey, even if it doesn't continue when you're safe, I'm still gonna do it.
Yeah, do you remember that talk we were having a few weeks ago about being responsible for your
and not leaving
avatar?
your avatar in a dire situation.
I think that in this game, if you leave the avatar there, it continues and something feels stuck. So you have to keep playing it, but you know you're not going to write it. You're not going to make it right. But you bring it to completion, and that is rewarding.
It's the reward. But the reward does not feel good.
It does not feel good, but you tie the thread.
Right.
In the end.
You finish the tapestry.
You finish the tapestry and you can leave it. You can go.
It's horrifying, but you can walk away from it now.
Yeah.
Now, with all this talk about how off affects you, some people are probably going to say, this game doesn't sound fun at all.
Right.
And what do you think about that? Do you think off is fun?
I think it's fun.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Do you think most other people will find it fun?
I don't know. Maybe. Well, it's not fun in a conventional way. It's not exhilarating. It's not happy. It's not. It's
It's even repetitive at some times.
It's repetitive. Yeah. In the graphics, in the music, in the storyline.
Okay, I like the music though. The music is phenomenal to me.
No, yeah, but it is repetitive.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's it's like a shadow world of fun. It's like if fun is the tip of the iceberg, with this you see the underworld of what fun is.
Right. All right.
Yeah.
See, what I would say is that while it's fun to me, it might not be fun to others, but others still should play it, even if it's not a fun game for you. And the reason why I say
it's a worthwhile game.
Yes. The game is a phenomenal experience, and I think you should experience it even if you don't think it's a fun game.
I think it's an experience that most games do not give you.
It's an experience that games are scared to go into. And the reason why a lot of people who make games are scared to go into this experience is because they think that it won't be fun.
Right.
And I think that's a mistake. I think that mindset is holding games back.
It's
that games have to be fun.
We have to start thinking of games, game makers, right, as art.
Exactly.
And when you think of art, you go beyond what people are going to find pleasant. You go beyond what is going to sell, what is going to make people smile and be happy. Of course, those are good too.
Right.
But when you come to art, you're wrestling with deep inner issues of reality, of your reality. I think this one does that well.
Exactly.
And it pulls you into it. It makes you have a reaction.
And another game that... Yes, exactly. And another game that we've talked about that probably doesn't fit the conventional definition of fun is Journey. And we highly recommend that too. Journey.
Oh, Journey, yes.
You don't really do anything in Journey.
Right.
You just walk.
Yeah. Glide.
Walk and glide, and all you do is journey.
Your journey.
That's it.
It's pure minimalism.
But yes,
and you know what?
It is a minimalist game.
That's the thing. That's what they have in common. Journey is the journey. It's a journey. And that's what it is. That's all there is.
Yes.
Off is off, and that's exactly what it is.
Everything about off feels off.
And so, if you want to experience being off, don't experience that in life. Don't get into that situation where you have gone off your true north. Experience it there in off. You'll really see it and know it.
Right. And it's in a controlled and safe environment, just as I have been talking about in other episodes.
You're right. And I'll venture one more thing, that in life now, if you start to go off, you'll know what it feels like because you had that experience. So, like in Journey, you know you're traveling in the right path because you know what it feels like.
Right.
And so, those two are magnificent games for that.
Absolutely. There should be gaming for higher inner knowledge.
But I think this is it.
And those two hit the mark.
Yeah. And
we need more games like that.
Yeah. And like great works of art, they do bring you face to face with that higher realities, higher structures that make up your consciousness.
So, what I suggest is, if a game doesn't sound very fun, like the core game mechanic, so Journey, you walk, you glide. That's it. You don't fight anything, you don't go and collect anything, you don't, there's no mission, there's no thing.
No stats, no competition.
If it still looks like an experience to you when you look at it, even if it doesn't offer anything in the sense of traditional video game fun.
Right.
I think it's worth a try.
I think it's rewarding, like art is rewarding.
Right.
Yeah. We're going to stop here then.
All right.
And we'll keep going. I think we have more gaming to talk about, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll continue with this thread then.
Right.
Next time. And this is On the Millennial Mind?
Yes. This is On the Millennial Mind.
All right.
This has been Alec.
And Coyote. See you guys next week.
See you guys next week.